Hey, awesome people. Welcome, Mr. C here. Today we are talking more about fractions, which we've been doing for a while. Make sure if you learn anything new today, click the like button, click the subscribe, join us as we continue making math understandable and challenging. Today's video is going to be focusing more on the 4th grade learning standard. This video is going to be talking about creating equivalent fractions using a number line. All right, so we're going to be using a number line. Last video in the description below shows you how to use a model and to draw it. Today we're going to be modeling using a number line, so that's what we're going to be doing, creating equivalent fractions using a number line. With that being said, a reminder, in the description below is the 3rd grade playlist that has all of our 3rd grade fractions. We have done a ton already, and we've also went back and did the 2nd grade learning standard as well for fractions, so check those out in the description below. Again, this video today is going to be focusing on creating equivalent fractions using a number line. Let's get started. Alright, so you see a number line up here. Before we get started, like I always say, make sure you have a growth mindset for our problems today. Remember, a growth mindset in math is super important. If you're okay with a challenge, if you're okay with the struggle, if you're okay with making mistakes, you're going to get so much better. Use your mistakes, use any type of challenge to help yourself get better. All right, practice the problem. If you make a mistake, find that mistake, fix it for next time. Okay, the more mistakes we make, the more our brain is going to grow. So do not give up, stick with it. On the screen here, I have a number line, as you can easily tell because you know what a number line is. So we're creating equivalent fractions, and last video that kind of showed you we drew like rectangles and circles, and we kind of figured out, how to create equivalent fractions that way. Today I want us to talk about using an equivalent fractions or creating equivalent fractions on a number line. All right, so the first fraction I'm going to give us is the fraction 1/2. All right, so I'm going to give us the fraction 1/2. Let's go with the blue color. All right, so the first fraction we're going to show on this number line is 1/2. And remember from our previous videos, what we need to do is look at our denominator. It tells us how many equal sections we're going to need. So we need 2 equal sections. So let me see. All right, so it should be about right here is where 1/2 is located. All right, so here is 1/2. All right, and I can even put like a kind of a dot right here so it's easier to see. Okay, there's 1/2. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can create an equivalent fraction to 1/2. And to do that, we're going to take this number line and we're going to break it up into more equal sections. Okay, so instead of breaking it up into 2 equal sections, we could break it up into 4 equal sections, or maybe 8 equal sections, or 10 or 12, however many we want. What we're going to try to do is create an equivalent fraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color. I'm going to go with a purple, and we're going to see if we can create an equivalent fraction for 1/2. All right, so for my example here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that our denominator is the number 4. All right, so let's take this number line and let's break it into 4 equal sections, okay? So let me see if I can do that. Here is 1. Here is 2. Here is 3. And then 4 would be over here. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when you look at this new fraction that we've shown on this number line, do you notice how this spot right here is at an equal to 1/2? Do you notice how they're at equal distance from 0? They're an equal distance to 1. What is this purple part right here? What would this fraction here be? Well, let's think about it. How many equal sections do we have? We've got 4 equal sections, so let's count them. We're going to go 1. I'm even going to kind of draw this in here. 1, 2. So what's this fraction right here, y'all? This fraction is 2/5. fourths. Do you see how those two fractions are equal? For 1/2, we broke this number line from 0 to 1. We broke it in half. For fourths, we broke from 0 to 1 into 4 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we just looked at it and skip counted all the way down here until we got to an equivalent fraction. And in this case, the equivalent fraction would be 2 fourths. All right, let me write that up here. 2 fourths. So these fractions here are equivalent. Okay, these fractions here are equivalent. Do you think that we could create, it's going to get a little crazy here, but do you think we can create another equivalent fraction on this number line? I think it's worth a shot. Let me erase those 2 arrows. All right, let's see. Let's see if we can create another equivalent fraction. Before we do that, though, what I pointed out to you in our last video, and if you haven't watched that, make sure you check it out. It's in the description below. What I pointed out in our last video is I pointed out how our numerators and our denominators for equivalent fractions related to each other. Okay, meaning how do these fractions relate to each other? What do they have in common? And what I showed you last time is that to create equivalent fractions, you can multiply and divide. All right, sorry about that, y'all. My screen froze up, had to reload it here. So I've redrawn my stuff up here, and what I was mentioning was, is there a way for us to create another equivalent fraction on this number line? And it's going to get a little bit crowded and stuff here, but I think it's possible. But before we did that, I was pointing out to you how we can relate equivalent fractions to each other. And we can do that by multiplying or dividing our fractions. And in this case here, my question for you was, how does 1 become this 2? How does this numerator of 1 become a numerator of 2? Well, we're going to multiply 1 times 2, because 1 times 2 equals 2. You know that. Now here's the thing you have to remember with fractions. Anytime you're multiplying or dividing fractions, whatever you do to the numerator, you're going to do the same thing to the denominator. All right, so if we multiply the numerator by 2, then we're going to multiply the denominator by 2. All right, so we did 1 times 2, that gave us 2. We did 2 times 2, and that gave us 4. And this is our equivalent fraction. Now, before we use this number line, anybody have any ideas as to what would be kind of a more efficient way to kind of figure this out? Well, I bet you're thinking to yourself, well, Mr. C, could we multiply by 2 again? That's a good question. What does that equal if we do that? What is 2 times 2? Well, 2 times 2 is 4. And what's 4 times 2? Well, that's 8. Let's see if 4/8 is going to end up right here where 1/2 and 2/4 is. Let's see. So we need to represent 8 equivalent sections on this number line, so they're going to get kind of small, but let's see if we can do it. There's 1, here's 2, here's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Our numerator is 4, so we're going to count by 4s. So here's 1, 2, 3. Well, I made a mistake. Back it up. Back it up. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Take a look there. What fraction is represented right here? 4/8. I'm going to see if I can write it right next to it. There we go. Kind of crowded, like I told you, it's going to look crazy. But 4/8. And what we've shown you here on this number line is that 4/8 is equal to 1/2. It's equal to 2/4. Down here is we've just shown you the math. Okay, we've just showed you directly the math. This here is going to be something that you're going to use quite often. And one thing I do want to point out to you as well is if we multiplied by 2, what if we wanted to go the other direction? What if we wanted to go from 8 to 4 and from 4 to 2? What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. The opposite of multiplication would be division, so we would divide by 2. All right, and we're going to do a lot more of that later on. If that's a little bit confusing, just hold on. Remember, have a growth mindset, be okay with the challenge. But for some of you, this may be starting to click. And this is a good way to kind of double check yourself once you're doing your models. Do the models for sure right now. Double check yourself with your math below it. Eventually, you won't have to draw it, but it's really important to know how to do that. All right, let me give you one more. All right, got a new one here for us, and this time number line, it's up there. Again, I'm using number lines in this video. First fraction I want you to represent on this number line is the fraction 4/6. All right, so pause me if you need to. Go ahead and set this up. So let's see if we can put 4/6 up here. All right, let's see if we can do it here. We need, our denominator tells us 6 equal sections. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 over here. Count me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Numerator is 4, so we're going to go over 4. So here's 1, 2, 3. Draw a better arrow on that one. 3 and 4. So here is 4 right here. 4/6. I'll write it above here. Let me erase this to get it out of the way. So there's 4/6. All right, would you agree with me? Is that 4/6? Hopefully you do. Make sure I didn't make any mistakes. Now, let's think about this. Let's see if we can create another equivalent fraction. And this time, to create an equivalent fraction, I want us to go this direction. And what I'm talking about here is I want us to create an equivalent fraction where we are dividing. All right, so instead of having each of these sections being 6 pieces long, or excuse me, 6 equal sections, can we create an equivalent fraction that has less than 6 in our denominator? All right, so what I mean by that is I want our denominator to be a smaller number than 6. Is that possible? If we're going to do that, that means that we're going to be dividing. Does anybody have any ideas what number we could divide 4 by? And what numbers we could divide 6 by? It has to be the same number. We have to divide both of these by the same number. Does anybody have any ideas? 2. Divide it by 2. 4 divided by 2 is what? Is 2. Can you divide 6 by 2? Can you divide 6 by 2? Think. 6 divided by 2 equals 3. All right, can we show 2/3 on this number line? That's the first question. The second question is it going to be equal to 4/6? Is 2/3 going to be right here on this number line? Well, let's look. Let's set it up. So we need 3 equal sections. So 3 equal sections. Let me see if I can do that. There's 1, 2, 3. Would you agree? 1, 2, 3. 3 equal sections. Yeah, it's pretty close. I think the second one could be moved just a little bit. Yeah, right there. There we go. So 3 equal sections, 1, 2, 3. We're looking for the numerator of 2. So let's draw that in. Here is 1. Notice how much bigger of a piece 1/3 is compared to how much 1/6 is. Do you notice that? Because from here to here is 1/3, and from here to here is 1/6. That's quite a big difference, don't you think? I mean, if I was thinking about this as like, I don't know, cookie cake, would I rather have a slice of cookie cake that is 1/3 of the whole thing or 1/6 of the whole thing? Obviously, I want it to be 1/3 because that means I'd get more of it. Okay, let's keep going with this. Here's 1/3. Oh, change colors. Here is 2/3. So this would be 2/3. And if we kept going with it, what would this one be? That would be 3/3. Nice job. So right here is where 2/3 is located. All right, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Right here is where 2/3 is located. Notice these two fractions are equivalent. These are equivalent fractions, and we proved it two different ways. How did we do so? Well, we did it with our number line up here by breaking it apart into equal sections depending on the denominator. And then we looked at the math portion of it down here, and we took 4/6 is what we started with, and we asked ourselves, what can we divide 4/6 by, the 4 and the 6 by? And we figured out that could be 2, because 4 divided by 2 equals 2. 6 divided by 2 equals 3. All right, a lot of stuff going on here. This skill, like I said, is a really important skill. Making equivalent fractions is really important because it's going to help you in a lot of different ways coming up when we add and subtract fractions and multiply them and divide them. So make sure you're trying out some of these. Practice some other fractions. Write down 4/8 and try 4/8 and see if you can find another equivalent fraction for 4/8. All right, the more you practice at this, the better you are going to get. Okay, growth mindset's really important. Don't give up. Practice, practice, practice. All right. Make sure, if you learned anything new, click the like button, click the subscribe. Join us as we continue making math understandable and challenging. That's all I have for you in this video here. Thanks for tuning in. Mr. C, out.